in this particular game of Hearthstone that we're jumping into.
What's even going on?
It looks like things might be going a little bit less well for him at the moment than things have been going this year, because Mitsuhide is quite obviously here looking to be in. Oh, okay, well, okay. We just jumped in. We've seen just as much about as
Yeah, we
as you
don't
have.
know the lineups particularly well or anything for this one. Both players are 3-1, I believe,
Oh.
just checking that.
I thought he was about to get shudderwalked to death, but it turns out he just doom-pacted.
Yeah, it looked like he was dead to Shudderwockville, but actually the opposite is true, and now Mitsu has no stuff. But
What is
Jengo
this
has
game?
no stuff either. He has a Naturalize, he has more health. So Mitsu has some minions. Okay, so breaking this down, Mitsu has quite a lot of minion pressure. He's not that far behind on health, and he has Hagatha action, which will eventually get him something useful. Jengo gets to Naturalize one thing, which is a lot of damage.
Yeah.
He gets to play a cube, which he will try and stick on the board,
Yeah.
but he may have to use it as removal. Why didn't we see all of this? Oh, yeah, because it took 12 turns for Hypno to 3-0 his brother.
I feel like this is the point in like the 90s dude bro movie where, you know, we see the record scratch, the movie pauses, and Mitsuhide's like, so, you're probably wondering how I got here.
Yeah. Let's go back an hour when this game started. Oh, my goodness.
So what does he do to try and
that
get
Grumble
some
was
value
8-9, by the way. Sorry, 8-8 or 9-9.
Oh, really? I didn't even see that.
There were some big numbers on some of these minions.
Keleseth stuff has occurred.
Yeah, Keleseth Shudderwock stuff has occurred. And he just passes.
Is it because... Well, he knows that there's a Naturalize there. Yeah, so he knows anything he's played gets him further into fatigue. So now he has to choose to either... Well, he can deal with this minion. Yeah, so he can deal with this with Volcano.
Oh my goodness, he's got double healing rain.
And then he has to do the incredibly quick maths here. This is the strongest and quickest of maths needed to be done here by Mitsu. Does he think, if this just goes in fatigue with double healing rain, without playing any minions, do I beat my opponent?
Yeah, and it looks like he's been doing this for all of last turn. He'll be doing it all of this turn, because we joke about doing maths, but
it's tough. This is really hard, because Jengo here, by playing the cube, has also said, I believe I can win this game if neither of us play any minions. Because if he thought he would not win the game by playing any minions, he would have gone cube, self-naturalize like that as quick as you can.
Yep.
But that would have let That would have let Mitsu play minions.
Mitsu's got it. Not playing a minion, he's got this.
Yeah.
He just gets to heal for 12 twice, and Jengo can't force the fatigue damage. I think he may even have it if he played a minion, but he's just playing it correctly and not doing that.
Jengo's got a better hero power, though. Yeah, but
that's 24 health. As long as it works out right, he can actually get the full heal out of it. Oh, he has got 36 health. Oh, my goodness.
He has got a lot of health. This is very, very close. But there's no way Mitsuhide can destroy one of his own
I forgot
minions.
how much armor Jengo had.
Couldn't Mitsuhide have played his Life Drinker and then gone for Volcano just to destroy it, because that gets him a spell?
Yes. Yes, I think he could have done. That's really cool.
But
again, maybe he gets the 3 extra health is important.
Maybe.
Sorry for all the maybes in this. We've just jumped into a Hearthstone Puzzle Labs. Thanks, Dr. Boom, for this one.
We are just as much in the dark as you all are, but it seems to me at the end here, maybe I'm missing something that happened throughout the course of the game. I don't know, I feel like Mitsu could have got an extra spell to be playing around with here.
Yeah, he could. Because now he's going to have to Life Drinker as the last thing he does.
Did he Life Drinker Avalanche? Oh no, wait, Avalanche freezes the one minion, deals 3 damage on either side, doesn't it?
Yeah, so he's missed a chance, I feel. I think it's a good spot from you there. He's missed a chance to Volcano away. I think that is correct. I think that's a good call. And like you say, the spell could be huge. It could be another healing rain. It could be
anything, yeah.
All sorts of bits and pieces, even a lightning bolt. We can work this out.
The extra healing rain might just
Jengo
be enough
is
to
dead
help
in
Mitsuhide
4
get there.
turns.
But he's got the extra swipe as well, which also enters into the maths.
I think the Life Drinker cuts a turn off Jengo's life. I think it's going to be close to the 4 turns, so I think it's 3.
Oh, so I guess that's what Mitsuhide is saving it for, isn't it? It's for the extra surprise damage at the end.
Yeah. And he obviously knows what's going on. He obviously knows Jengo's hand.
Right.
It's just from the way he's not playing minions and everything.
Very clearly, very clearly.
Mitsu, regarded by his peers as an incredibly powerful player, but not had the best of years, I'd say.
I would agree.
Hasn't popped up very often in big tournaments, and that can be tough. But that can also just happen. I mean, not every good player can win every event. There's like, that's not how numbers work.
Yeah. Yeah, he has definitely had a little bit of a slower year than we've seen from him previously, but that's definitely doesn't mean we should count him out. He had a decent run with his team in the global game.
He will win some things. He will definitely win some things.
So now up to 18 health. Jengo just took 7, I think, didn't he? So now 8 and 9.
17.
Is 17.
Plus
so
life
he can
drinker
survive
3.
that, plus life drinker, but he also gets 2 hero powers.
Which is 20. That's what I thought when I first worked out. So the life drinker is exact lethal in 2 turns.
Right, okay.
The question is, does Mitsu have 2 turns?
He's going to take 9, which means Jengo is 1 damage off lethal here, I think.
Yeah, and Mitsu gets to play the life drinker, which it looks like he worked out on that turn when we joined, and we were just trying to work out what was going on.
No way.
And he's worked this out. He's worked this out.
No way. 1 health of fatigue left to take this matchup. That is insane. Could Mitsu have figured that out? Did he do all the math?
He was playing quick enough that I think he did. And I think that might be why he missed the volcano play, which would have still worked out the same, so it would have been better. Because I think he'd worked out that this is the turn I use the life drinker for, and having that, with so much going on, having that block deciding your head is I need to save life drinker for the lethal turn. Yeah, it's probably why he missed your play, which is just better because you still get that 3 damage.
I guess so.
Yeah.
Wow.
So we didn't see what happened there, how they got into that gigantic mess, but it looks like a failed shudder walk and a lot of stalling from Druids.
It wasn't a failed Shudderwock, it was a Grumble bottom card was what it did, because he played the Shudderwock, which had the Sandbinder battle cry, which drew him the Grumble, I think, at the end.
So it was a forced Shudderwock to try to get bored.
It was a forced Shudderwock and praying that your opponent doesn't have Doom Pact as the card of Lich King, which Jengo did very, very, very almost, leading him to a victory. But then with Jengo's play of playing the cube, it's very complicated, because if he goes cube, self-naturalize, he obviously gets way ahead in fatigue, but that means
he doesn't have a cube anymore.
Well, it means he doesn't have a cube, and Mitsu can develop. Mitsu can just go life drinker Grumble, and then he probably just wins in fatigue. Whereas because there was the constant threat of naturalize, Jengo, Mitsuhide couldn't develop any minions, which meant Jengo just was calculating that he thought he'd win in fatigue. It just didn't get there, though. So incredibly close.
Now, I wanted to have an argument about this with you. I've seen you cast this matchup before, and unfortunately, we can't have the argument right now.
Right.
I've seen you say it's about 50-50.
Do you think it's massively Tempo Mage
I think
favored?
it's 60-40 Tempo Mage, but we can't have the argument because that would be cheating right now, because Jengo has a Mana Worm in his hand, so this game doesn't solve anything.
Yeah. Well, like, all I was saying on cast is that, you know, Shudderwock Shaman is not an anti-aggro deck. It's an anti-very slow control deck, but it does have in there all the tools that should be needed to beat Control Mage.
Yeah, and it can be aggro mage because they have so few minions, and Shudderwock can deal with them all. And if you get rid of their minions, you've got the healing range to back up the heal.
Yeah.
So healing range to back up the fact that they now need to burn you out. And so it can definitely win. It's definitely not massive for the mage, but I do feel that the mage is significantly favoured. But again, even when you talk to pro players, let alone casters, this happens. The deck you play a lot of is always the deck you think is favoured against everything. And
yeah,
I've played a lot of this deck, so...
I mean, especially if you're a pro player who's very good at that specific deck...
That becomes even worse, yeah.
You will obviously think it's favoured against everything, because against the average ladder player, you will definitely be beating with pretty much any deck. And Jengo will very likely be beating Mitsuhide with this curve, because... Mana Worm, Arcanologist, Kirin Tor Mage, don't get much better than this.
Yeah, and very little removal on Mitsu's side at the moment. Yeah, it's like when you talk to Fino, basically whatever he played yesterday beats every deck in the meta. And he'll admit that maybe Mage could beat Quest Rogue if it gets a good draw. It's just ridiculous talking to some of those players about what's favoured. I remember once Muzzy claimed that Paladin was favoured against Evenlock. And then the very next,
Paladin?
Then the very next day he was playing Evenlock and saying it beats everything. It's like, but
he's Muzzy.
But he's Muzzy.
Of course,
he's favoured on both sides, right? Yeah, very specifically on Twitter, he did those 2 things in the space of like 24 hours.
But Jengo here opting to deny the draw here of the Acolyte of Pain, diverting from the traditional route, I suppose you could call it, of Kirin Tor into Secret right away. And it does develop a very good amount of pressure on board, only gives his opponent 1 card draw, but even that one measly draw off of the Acolyte of Pain has given Mitsuhide a roadblock at least to try and put in the way of Jengo's aggression. But until a Lightning Storm is found or a Volcano is found, it is just not even going to come close to getting fighting off this onslaught.
Yeah, because you don't need to do much damage. A bit more because of the healing rains. But your minions don't need to do huge chunks of damage to get this done. Yeah, if they get sort of through for 10 or 12, then you put them on the back foot, and then something else will stick later. That's the thing. This deck looks like it's just early minions, then burn you out. And of course, that is the fundamentals. But actually, with Cosmic Anomaly and Kirin Tors, you can stick a 4-3 a bit later sometimes, because your opponent does use all their removal at the start.
So I think we actually saw there from Jengo a slight hesitation and wondering, do I pick Flame Strike there? I think with the 2 reduction from Glyph and 1 from the Apprentice, he could have gone coin Flame Strike there to clear off the board and push everything face, which isn't ridiculous. Like, by choosing the Frostbolt here instead, he has to go double Frostbolt, or at least 1 Frostbolt. He gets to fit in a the Arcane Intellect as well, so this probably does end up being worth it. But it was close. That would have given him a good amount of board control there.
Yeah, one thing I've learned about this deck, or many things, like how to win, which was new, is that you've really got to be careful on your glyphs not to auto-pick burn. There's a lot of situations where other things do a good job, and we'll talk about those in other matches, but there's the general rules for glyphs are actually, surprisingly, there are no general rules. You read everything that's happening.
But now, even after Jengo's very, very impressive start, basically because there was the response to Mana Worm on turn 1. If that hadn't been there, Mitsu would have taken he would be down to about 10 health at the moment if that Earthshock hadn't been there for the Mana Worm. So that was clearly a fantastic play from Mitsu. Jengo here is starting to run out of stuff to do. The Lightning Storm and the Volcano and the Healing Rain could stabilize Mitsuhide.
And this is a lot tougher now. You don't just throw your second Apprentice onto the board, because if you assess that you're not going to get this done, if you feel that you're not winning anytime soon, and with this hand, the burn is all very light in hand, he may need to sort of switch to plan B, which is get Luna or a Luneth, play Apprentice, and get, not an OTK, but get a lot of damage in one turn with your anomalies. So you go into the longer game. If you don't think it's getting done with the Apprentice, you may have to keep this for some time.
It is insane what Cosmic Anomaly has done to this deck, isn't it?
Yeah.
Everyone anticipated that card would be pretty good, but I don't think anyone really saw the potential that it could unlock.
And decision now, if you want to missiles or ping, you usually ping to save value, but again, this might be your last chance to get a guaranteed 3 to face. But if it's going to get healed anyway, it does 0 to face. Yeah, that's the problem here.
I think I do prefer the ping here. Shadowbox Shaman doesn't play that many minions, even with the Totem Hero power, with the Shooting Star in hand especially.
I think if they're below 18, you can consider missiling there, because then the Healing Rain won't heal it back up.
Fair enough.
But certainly, I think his hand is so light on anything to do. I think I like the ping and just get the extra points while they're there.
Same. So now Mitsuhide really is starting to find the good cards in his deck.
Yes.
With Lightning Storm. 2 Lightning Storms and a Volcano, even getting a very juicy-looking Lightning Storm now. He doesn't really need anything else to win this game. It really comes down to what Jengo can do now, I would say.
Yeah, he needs card draw and he needs it now.
Yeah, rather than what Mitsu can do.
At the moment, if he doesn't get card draw in, say, the next 2 turns, Mitsu's just going to be able to freewheel, do what he likes. Even the fight, Hagatha's really irritating, because not only does it get you the 5 armor, but Shaman spells are really good at being slightly annoying. Yeah. And most decks just go, I've got a Mountain Giant, I don't care. This deck goes, yeah, it's slightly annoying, it's actually a massive roadblock.
He's got a Mana Giant, doesn't he?
Mana Giant.
On turn 1, Mana Worm.
Okay.
Basically,
yeah, it's pretty good. Not quite as high a win rate card as people make out on turn 1, but it's still obviously really good. Yes, it's because of the fact you try and curve out. The Mana Worm often sits around as a 1-3 for a longish time, like 2 turns.
Fair enough.
Sometimes it becomes like a 3-3, which is obviously great, but it's not. It's not the sort of 9-3 monster that it used to be, unless you get counter spells and stuff, and then it can just kill you.
Still a 1-mana 3-3 with the potential to grow bigger.
It's a really good card. It's not. I'm not denying that. I've never thrown a Mana Worm away.
Yeah.
So Mitsu now just trying to work out how safe he is. What's his plan? He's forced out the second Apprentice, which is good for him.
But does he want to remove it? That Apprentice is really scary.
Yeah, if your opponent next turn goes Cosmic Anomaly, or if it goes Luna even, if Luna's in hand and they just... If we cast a Hearthstone Global Games match where Luna turn went 34 damage with double Apprentice. It just
Really?
That's why everyone cut Pyro from the deck, Pyroblast.
And he thinks it's worth Lightning
Yeah,
Storm.
I agree with him. I think this is one of the last things he has to kill.
And I think the other reasoning for this is exactly Luna, as you pointed out, because even if he was afraid of Cosmic Anomaly, that would be bad, but he could just go Hagatha next turn and he'd probably be fine. The fact that Hagatha does not kill Luna is what really scares Mitsuhide here into going for the Lightning Storm, which he does not want to do because he wants to curve into Hagatha for a board clear.
And this is all but lost for Jengo now. He probably has one more turn with which to pick up a card draw engine. There are 2 Arcane Intellects as well, which often get you started again, but...
He's played both of them, right? Or one of them?
I think he has played one, actually.
One of them,
yeah.
okay.
Maybe it is 2.
I think it is actually just the one.
But obviously a Luneth is a big deal, but when you've lost your Sorcerer's Apprentices, it's a little bit less of a big deal.
Yeah.
It's still massive. Just talking scale. But Hagatha, maybe not now with the 2 minions on board, even though they're just piddly totems. Maybe he just...
overloaded anyway from the Lightning Storm. That's why he...
Yeah. It just goes super wide.
Yeah. Well, he knows that there's still the explosive runes, so he doesn't really want to be playing Keleseth or Manatide Totem into that because he just takes a bunch of damage.
Yeah.
But does he want to play Grumble? Because then that's such like negative tempo playing a 6-mana 7/1 that also takes away your totem. It's an awkward turn when nothing feels fantastic.
I think Overload is now functioning in Shaman like it was intended.
How
It went
so?
through a phase where it was just too prohibitive to be overloaded.
Yeah.
Then it went through a phase where nobody cared.
Where it was
and
just the
played
most
3-4 for
broken
2
thing
and now I've
ever.
won. But these days I feel like it's irritating, gives you a bit of a tempo boost.
Yeah.
But it's irritating enough to compensate. I feel like that's how the mechanic was intended to originally work.
Fair enough.
And he does go for this Grumble just to protect that damage.
I'm just waiting for a couple more good even cost Overload cards to be made, because then the the Thunderhead even Shaman deck is just going to be...
That was good. Everyone was talking about that card when it came out, and I got to about 2 months into the meta and someone played it. I'm like, help me, I don't know what this card is. Everyone goes, you don't know what Thunderhead does? I'm like, I've never seen it.
Just
because
your
it just
weird
didn't develop
Florinda
into
meta.
it didn't develop into a thing. But like you say, it could easily do that.
It could do. And it's even got to the point where Ike is playing like Beacon Lightning.
I actually think that's a really interesting card to have in your deck.
In your token deck, yeah. Good deck, mate. It probably is good, to be honest.
But we have to meme Ike at least twice per day.
Exactly, it's mandatory. As another secret comes down, and Mitsuhide, again with it being open deck list, I imagine would know, as we can see, double counterspell version of the deck. Not all too popular at the moment.
Yeah, it's gained a little bit of popularity the last few days, sorry. But you're right, 1 counterspell is far more normal, and even 0 counterspells with a mirror entity is a thing that people are doing now as well.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Oskaka got ranked 4 legend with
that's it, right? Yeah, that's the person I saw. I've heard Muzzy, preaching the gospel of double counterspell a lot. He said, at least on stream a week ago when I was watching him, he likes the double counterspell list.
I think in open lists I'd like to see 1-1-1. 1 explosive runes, 1 mirror, and just say you don't know what to do about this.
Fair enough. Yeah.
Because if you guess wrong against Tempo Mage, then you lose.
Yeah.
But if you don't guess at all, and you've got to play around something, then they will beat you because they get an extra turn a lot of the time.
But now, after testing for another explosive runes from Mitsu, he realizes he's safe to develop onto the board, and so he will do exactly that. And he's got to be feeling pretty fantastic, because unless a card like that comes through for Jengo, he's just absolutely left high and dry. He needs to start drawing to his power cards right now.
And the Swampoos picked up by Mitsu there will deal with a Luneth.
Yeah.
Okay, it hurts to have a Luneth turn against you, but if you Swampoos it straight away and you haven't lost board, it's probably not that much. But Darek inhales sharply there.
It's a lot of damage.
Double Fireball changes things really quickly. Second Healing Rain, though. Still for Mitsu, chilling. We have seen very little Shudderwock on stream.
We have seen very little.
Not just here, but just in general in the last few tournaments.
I'd be interested to hear the players' opinions on it in Last Serious Standing, because just as a first thought, it seems like it would be decent. It's got very polarized matchups. If you go up against an Odd Warrior with it, you just have a free win, basically.
Yeah, it's fascinating how LHS has progressed. And there's been enough LHS for the meta. Well, there's been 1 tournament, but
yeah,
there's been a LHS tournament, so we have a meta defined.
Jengo now clearly wearing his emotions on his sleeve with his confusion as to where to send this ping. Does he kill off the minion with actual attack value? Does he try and stop the card draw? I feel his pain. Does he even want to send it face? He knows that his really only shot of winning this game at the moment is to launch everything through to face and pray that there is no damage, there is no healing able to come through. We can see here, though, Mitsuhide could just heal to Kingdom Come. He's got an Electra into another healing rain if things even get close to that bad.
And this is where the decision to play Second Sorcerer's Apprentice, which was right because he'd run out of stuff on board, so you have to actually keep the pressure up. But the fact that was forced, it really hurts you because it just means, another healing. It just, sorry, I sort of processed that about 10 seconds after you said it. It just makes it so difficult.
Yeah, Jengo with the classic turn 10 ping to face in an aggro deck. That always feels truly gosh dang awful. And now for Mitsu with a Shudderwock in hand. He's played a Saronite, he's played Grumble. If he plays a Life Drinker here, he might just have lethal next turn, or in 2 turns time if the Shudderwock activates correctly.
Little bit of news from the floor. This Just Saying guy that you may have heard of.
Yeah.
5-0.
Oh, disgusting.
It's ridiculous. It's absolutely insane. For those who weren't on yesterday, basically,
that's so nuts.
He has won now. I've got to actually start taking off my socks, and that's not enough anymore for counting. But before this tournament, he had won 25 straight rounds of Hearthstone. He did lose a match in a bracket resetted final. This makes it 30 consecutive rounds of Hearthstone that he has come out victorious.
Wow.
Again, Chosen was the player who beat him in that ladder reset. And we might have to mention that a lot because if you're the only person to beat a guy in 31 attempts, you probably deserve a mention.
You deserve a shout. Yeah, you probably are the chosen one. Yeah. Oh man, I honestly really hope that we get to see, even if he doesn't win it, say, and having a deep run in this tournament, all the way through to the top 8 and further, because
we used to talk about Super JJ's run, and it was something like 16 matches in a row.
Right.
This was 25 matches in a row, then a lose, but you won the match, won the round anyway. Yeah. And now he's 5-0 in this 4th consecutive tournament. It's just ridiculous.
It is completely insane. He's forgotten how to lose.
Yeah, it's going to hurt him when someone finally beats him properly.
He's taking the advice of every good Hearthstone player should of just win.
Yeah, he's just going to change his name slightly. Just winning.
Just winning. Yeah, that's pretty good.
Meanwhile, the reason we're talking about that is because Mitsuhide goes, oh my goodness!
I mean, he's
stopped getting healing rates.
He's just cleaning up. Like it doesn't really matter what he does here. He's going for the Hagatha here for more value. It also introduces the Shudderwock into having a 3 damage AoE. Jengo here just relying on a disgustingly powerful Luna to maybe salvage him in this game.
Maybe able to hide this Luna behind a counterspell and just hope that it survives one more turn, especially now he's picked up the anomaly. His way to win here, from where he is sat, is you counterspell, the Luna somehow lives, and then you anomaly, frostbolt, fireball, and somehow it lives again. Maybe you have to frostbolt a minion to keep your Luna alive.
I guess
not happening, but that's what he's got to go for, I feel. He's trying to work out whether the play is actually to, instead of playing the counterspell, is to ping or to counterspell Frost Nova.
Counterspell Frost Nova is actually
quite tasty.
Yeah, because it means your Luna is obviously more likely to survive, doesn't die to one activation with Shudderwock. Yeah.
Yeah, I actually like that more the more I look at it. Counterspell Frost Nova here. Because that Frost Nova is doing nothing. Next turn, you're dead. Yeah. Like, effectively dead. You're not dying for some time. Yeah. I actually prefer that.
Yeah, so do I. I think if you're going to have any chance of winning in this game, you have to get so incredibly lucky as Jengo. And that, I mean, maybe that comes in the form of your opponent has literally no good spells at all, so you don't have to play counterspell like this.
To be fair to him.
But we can see now the Shudderwock is going to be coming down. If this goes in the correct order, which it did not, then it would have been a guaranteed victory for Mitsu. However, it was looking like Luna might survive, but Jengo simply cannot catch a break, even with
Hagatha to choose your own spell, because Mitsu's had 3 healing rains and a zap right at the right time. Yeah. But yeah, that could have got interesting there if because he had saved the Frost Nova for the Shudderwock. Well, and then next turn he can Frost Nova counterspell the turn after we thought about it. And if the anomaly lived for 2 turns, you can win.
This has got interesting now because Shudderwock has failed. Mitsuhide's hand, while it has obviously a tremendous amount of healing, doesn't have any removal.
And he's just told Jengo that.
Yes.
Maybe.
Not necessarily.
Yeah, because maybe he would have cleared, but... Oh, no!
Oh,
How many missiles was that? 7.
So that means what? Zola off the top can give Mitsuhide the ability to get himself another shuttle walk?
7. Oh, my goodness. That is absolutely ridiculous.
I mean, he could even just heal it up with Healing Rain, right?
Just needed to hit 3 out of 7, which is much easier than it first sounds.
Yeah, just going with the old 3-mana 5/5 mind control muckler. Oh, unstable evolution. That's so sick.
I mean, this
Just
is
give yourself
obviously going to get a
drop.
charge minion at this point, or a massive taunt, or something that has lifesteal.
Oh, PogChamp.
Yeah,
There
Jengo's
we go.
just had enough.
Mitsuhide deciding there in the end he just wants to play Ike's good Shaman rather than Shuttlewalk, because that clearly wasn't doing anything for him. But
Jengo conceding before Mitsu can taunt him with a double healing rain that he picked up along the way. Well, that went well for the Shuttlewalk. 2 games in a row of insanity.
it did indeed. We have jumped into this series as the second game of the round, so we don't actually have in front of us what decks these players are playing. But basically, in Last Hero Standing, it's usually a safe assumption that if you are 2-0 or 0-2, you're 2 games down, your last remaining deck will not be a very good counter.
Yeah, and my personal opinions aside, most people seem to think that's about a 50-50.
Yeah.
If he's queued up what he thinks is about a 50-50, maybe he sides with me a little bit, maybe he thinks it's 55. We don't expect this to be a good counter.
Oh, okay, it's what is this? Even Warlock though, which
Looks like it.
I mean, it's not awful, right? Like the Shuttlewalk Shaman clearly has a was that an Ooze Keep?
Yes, I want to say. Maybe not. I was looking at the other results.
So
for a
was I.
moment there.
Yeah, I was also looking away for a second. But even so, this is, I think, a reasonable matchup for the Even Warlock. You can just get off to a start with Mountain Giants, Twilight Drakes, all that good stuff that the Shuttlewalk Shaman just cannot deal with. But similar to what I was saying with the Shuttlewalk Shaman against the Aggro Mage, the tools are just all there to deal with it. It may not be finely tuned to deal with Even Warlock, but you have more than enough removal to deal with most of their threats.
It's interesting how Shuttlewalk developed, actually, because you were saying earlier about how polarized it is. And it is to a large degree, although in this meta, not necessarily. There's more polarized things to talk about, but it is quite polarized. But it has developed as a deck that can beat anything. It's sort of taken... Yeah, it took away a lot of bits and pieces from the complete combo version, a long time ago, not recently.
Yeah.
And has sort of developed into this deck that can beat anything.
I mean, I agree, and this is, an even matchup, but that's because Evenlock is just the most decent against everything deck in Hearthstone at the moment. It's not insane versus anything. It's not terrible against pretty much anything, apart from, like, Odd Rogue, Aggro Mage, I guess, are, like, the worst that you're going to face, but even that's not unwinnable. It's just fine. It's like the white bread of Hearthstone.
That's nice.
It's just fine. You like it, it's nice, but
Meh.
it's not pudding, it's not particularly delicious either.
Other people on 5-0, we saw Hypno get there. Impy, who had a good run recently anyway, he's doing it again.
He's
5-0.
Wow. That is
And
surprising.
Davido's 5-0, who's
Wow, good for him.
been in the shadow a little bit of A8 since that happened. We were told a long time ago that keep an eye on this guy, and coming good again. So they're the 5-0s, and then the 4-1s. All the people I said were 3-1. If you've heard of them, they're 4-1 now.
Okay.
That's at a glance. I'm sure there's 1 or 2 who are not. But Fino, Casey, those good stuff players that we see a lot of.
So I guess we could see here, in terms of stories of the really big players, is obviously just saying getting potentially another unstoppable suite. But also Casey could become the most top 16ingest player in tour stops, overtaking Hunter Ace.
Yeah, he would go to 7.
That is completely insane.
And he hasn't played every single one either. He's played a lot, but he hasn't played every single one. He would actually overtake Hunter Ace. And then on to Singapore next week. I think Singapore next week, it's like the same players that all managed to get signed up. So the number roadshow, the tour stop that doesn't stop, is just going to keep going. And Hunter Ace is going to be mighty miffed if all these players are going to gain 15 and 12 and 9 points on him from this event.
Getting back into this game, Jengo, it's been pretty standard turns for the most part here. It's just been the Even Warlock tapping into developing his threats, Mitsuhide trying to find some kind of an answer for it, at least until he can get his own win condition rolling with the likes of Saranite, Chain Gang, Grumble, and the Shuttlewalk eventually as well. And he's got a respectable hand to be doing that. I'd say Volcano should be most of a board clear, if not all of a board clear, maybe with a little bit of help from the Chain Gangs.
Yeah, the Overload is a little bit more terrifying against Evenlock, though. being overloaded and having them just splurge minions all over the place. And I mean, obviously Jengo doesn't want it to happen, but when it's gone, you still have plenty of big stuff left in this deck. Even your Gen Greymane at 6/5 is an awkward minion.
I love it when you call it Gen Greymane.
Are you a GIF sort of person?
Well, no, but they're completely separate words.
Oh, okay, sorry.
It really just makes it sound like, you know, a werewolf who works in accounting.
Does it?
Gen,
okay.
No, Gen from accounting, Gen Greymane.
Okay. I
Maybe
never have
really
understood anything you say, Derek, so I'm just going to let it go over my head as always. But yeah.
It's not a reference to anything.
No, I realise you're just being Derek.
I'm just being an idiot.
But I think that's how you say it.
Okay.
And I'd like some WoW people to correct me.
I'm sure they'd be more than happy to. As Jengo's done a surprisingly good job of, completing like all 3 tick boxes you have to in this matchup as Even Warlock, where he's got a good amount of threats early on, he's got a good hand size, as you pretty much always get, so he's got good refill afterwards, and he's also got his health surprisingly low. That doesn't always happen in this matchup, but it does mean that next turn, Tap Hooks Reaver is a pretty good threat. The Lich King on turn 8, even with the follow-up of Gen Greymane, or the Black Knight, just to get more threats on the board as a constant onslaught that Mitsu might just not have the answers to.
Yeah, and he's got to answer this lot first, which we can see he probably can, but before that even happens.
Yeah.
However, there is a lot going on in Mitsu's hand. And this... Oh, I was going to say this is going to draw him a shard, but it doesn't. He just picks out the Grumble.
Well, it can be, what, now Shard, Electro, or Grumble. There's a lot of elementals knocking about in the deck now. And Grumble's really not bad. I suppose he might have preferred a Glacial Shard, but even then, Hero Power, rolling a Taunt there is also a very tasty way of stalling out this board just a little longer.
Yeah, no easy way through here.
I think what this turn definitely involves is a sacrifice of the Volga Homunculus into the Saronite Chain Gang, because then that allows you to play another threat on this turn, whereas otherwise you'd be playing pretty unnecessarily, in my opinion, into a Mind Control tech.
Yeah, got to avoid that at all costs.
Yeah, that's how things start to go really bad.
First of all, you don't want them to be able to play it, so when they shudder up, you don't want the second one as well.
That's true.
So
yeah.
you try and force them to play it down as just a minion in its own right.
Yeah. I like
there we go, there's that
Jengo.
sacrifice.
Because the 2/2 doesn't really do anything anyway. Like, it's a small umbrella against a volcano, potentially.
Nothing is pretty here.
Well, it's... this is the turn I was looking at from the start. I was wondering if he might diverge with something like Spellstone, maybe, if he thinks he has enough stuff on board.
Oh, we talked about playing around the MC tech, but he's just going in there. This has the potential to go horrible for him.
Did this play around Volcano? If there was an attack in, that would be...
I think the 410 would live anyway.
Yeah, I think it would live
there
anyway.
There would have been
well.
17, which means that the Twilight Drake will live.
I think this is just
all real mass worlds.
I don't think this is worth developing a 3/2 because stuff like
this
happen.
might happen.
Yeah, like any of them being stolen. Obviously, the 7/7 probably works out the best because then he can kill off the giant as well. Oh, actually, no. Maybe this is okay for Jengo because he has the Black Knight to counter it, but
it's not a counter when your beating stick has been taken away.
Right,
Like, this is the minion that's supposed to be doing the damage as well as defending you. So yeah, sure, you get the swing, but the swing is costing you 6 mana, it costs them 3.
Yeah.
But maybe he felt that he actually needed to hurry it up because, Mitsu has got a fairly decent position.
Yeah,
but personally, I don't agree. I didn't agree. I feel like that was a needless risk and a board that was pretty tasty with some backup in hand.
Because the answer then for Mitsuhide was just Volcano. Like, he had to find something
Volcano
to do
leave
there.
you with a 4/2 Drake, and then you just go, okay, I'll play Lich King now, and then Mitsu's got to do it again the turn after while overloaded.
Yeah.
That just looked a lot better.
And this does now mean, again, that Mitsuhide is potentially looking towards an on-curve Shudderwalk combo. We could see Grumble next turn if he feels comfortable in doing so, doesn't feel like he's under too much threat. And then Shudderwalk on turn 9, which would have a Chain Gang, a Grumble, and a Life Drinker all in there. And an MCT.
This feels like it's gone to pieces now, because now Volcano, if he doesn't want to go for the curve-out Shudderwalk, is just going to kill everything.
Doesn't that kill everything? 8, yep.
Just 13,
yeah.
It's nice and easy.
Very nice board clear there.
Yeah, and then maybe a sneaky healing rain, because you've got nothing better to do. Or you can just drop a minion. Sorry, just a totem. You don't just drop Zola.
I almost don't hate dropping Zola because if going into turn 9, like you can grumble it back and then you know Zola your grumble. Like, you need to be somewhat quick here. I'm far from convinced that it's the right play.
No,
but I think it's definitely
I probably ruled it out
about.
quicker than I should have. Yeah,
because
I can go with that.
You overload. You go to 7 mana next turn. That means if it survives, you can go grumble Zola your grumble. Yeah.
I think Mitsu's trying to work out, is this a bait or has Jengo just had a couple of poor turns?
Oh, yeah, maybe.
Maybe this is looking so weird to him.
In the end, thinking he doesn't even need to go for the full board clear because we were looking at the Volcano to set up for a full board clear. But even before that, we were talking about just Shudderwock on turn 9. It could very well happen, as well as the fact that this is a 6-mana 8/8. This is not to be sniffed at.
This is forcing Jengo to trade into you.
That's true. Yeah.
That's actually fine. That's just done a better job than the Volcano. You're not overloaded. The Shudderwock's open. Your hand is so flexible.
However, there really is a lot of damage coming the other way. Jengo can just mount a big offensive here.
Now you've got to trade into me. I love it, these games of chicken that happen sometimes where you try to force your opponent to trade into your big thing and then the other guy does the same.
So trade Volcano is a board clear if necessary.
Yeah.
If he goes for Shudderwock, there's a Glacial Shard in there. There's a Chain Gang, a Grumble, an MCT, which doesn't do anything. Zola Grumble is obviously too slow.
There's no good Hagatha.
Yeah.
The arm again.
Oh, it's tough. It is tough.
So if you Volcano Healing Rain this turn,
I guess
what's
that's the standard
next
play,
turn?
isn't it?
I mean, you've got minions you can ploop down. You can actually Volcano and just play an MCT because you've got 2 in your hand.
Yeah.
And just have a 3/3 on board, and then next turn you've got Lightning Storms and stuff if needed. And if you haven't, you Hagatha and do a bit of trading.
Yeah, that sounds all right.
See why this turn's taking a long time. You've not got to just plan what you're doing here because of, again, talking about overload. You've got to plan what you want to do the next 2 or 3 turns, and when this Volcano looks like it needs to be played at some point, when do you want to do that?
And these are the good Hearthstone turns where he has a baseline play. The baseline play is this: Volcano, Healing Rain, Mind Control deck. We saw it basically right at the start because it's just it's nice and simple. It's what control decks do. They remove, they heal, and gets a little bit of development in the meanwhile. He was looking really hard for anything else. Am I allowed to Shudderwock on this turn? What happens if it goes wrong? What happens if it goes right? It was just too risky, I think, because he can reasonably expect that the next development from Jengo isn't going to be that scary.
Yeah, this is the sort of turn he would have expected, maybe even slightly worse than this.
I think slightly worse than this is a
Grey
reasonable
Mane plus
expectation.
maybe a Sun Fury would probably be more expectation. But this isn't a catastrophe. He's on 22. He's facing down 10. He has something on the board. He's got good Shudderwocks in the locker for next turn if needed.
Yeah, he could just trade Hagatha would be a decent way to do this turn. I guess he doesn't have to get that rolling, but I really don't hate that.
I think this is one of the reasons that Shudderwock might be not dying out, but being played a little bit less in tournaments is, do you want to play 8 long rounds of this?
It's mentally taxing.
Because it's not an amazing deck. It's not like, 8 rounds of Quest Rogue, sure, you take your chance.
Yeah.
But 8 rounds of this, you are going to be tired at the end of it, and you are going to make mistakes along the way somewhere.
Whoa.
Oh, my goodness.
Oh, man. This is like the old school arena days watching Trump SC where you'd feel really
you
smart.
You weren't watching me?
Oh, sorry, mate.
So, yeah.
You'd feel so smart because you'd be like, did you know silence activates first, then it deals the 1 damage?
Oh, is that how it works?
Yeah, and then you'd be like, aren't I great at Hearthstone? Because you can kill a Twilight Drake with the Earth Shock.
And the great thing is all your friends who didn't watch Twitch thought you were really great at Hearthstone. Back then.
And now I'm on Twitch and everyone knows I suck at Hearthstone.
But your friends still think you're really great at Hearthstone.
Yeah. As again, it's still just 2 decks with so much damage potential now with if we were just to see Bone Mare smack face, that's pretty easily a setup for lethal with Sun Fury thrown down as well, ignoring any removal that Mitsu can throw down. But he needs to be afraid of just dying himself.
Yeah, it's terrifying, but it's so tempting to Bone Mare and just shove Fury up. It's so tempting. But yeah, like you say,
it's just too scary.
Dying yourself is too terrifying.
I think the Sun Fury anti-magic shell line that it looks like Jengo's going for is just a safer way of going about it. You set up a big taunt wall, and say to Mitsu, you know what, I'm on the aggressive now. You have to find an answer to my board once again.
This has been incredible. Every single turn just looks like whoever just had the turn is going to win.
And it's worth pointing out for Mitsu, this could have been even worse. If he hadn't got the Earthshock off the top,
Yes.
Drake would still be alive. He'd have taken another 6 on this turn and would be in an absolutely miserable position. So, I mean, I don't know. I still would not have hated Hagatha on the last turn just for a decent board clear and set up for time to play Shudderwock on this turn 10.
Hagatha here is pretty good, though. It leaves
Yes.
Jengo with
Yeah,
just
yeah,
a
yeah.
4-2 after the trades have been made.
And I do want to point out as well from Jengo that aside from the one turn where I think we can both agree he overextended with the ooze,
Yeah.
he's done a very good job of playing around mind control techs. It's just consistently been not quite enough minions to steal, which meant they've just been sitting around in hand for Mitsu.
I've enjoyed this game a lot. I think both players have managed to find ways to just say, no, I'm the
Yeah.
boss. No, I'm the boss. And repeat for many turns.
Yeah.
And I'm still not sure who the boss is in this one. No.
Oh, he's just going with the Shudderwock, trying to freeze one of them with the Glacial Shard. Oh, he also gets the draw, doesn't he? With so even if it fails, he could go for a Glacial Shard off the top from the Sandbinder that he gets.
And there we go.
And that is what he goes for. Oh, wait, did he just rope?
He must have done because he chose to free. Oh, maybe he was already roping when he started the stuff and we didn't see it. He's had to pick one at random before
Because,
seeing
I mean,
the animation.
The better play was the second Shudderwock, right?
Yeah.
I think we can both agree with that. It was just because he was roping. He just did anything on that turn to get something on the board.
And he probably hadn't seen the animation of what the shard throws, so he
Yeah.
probably had to just guess one.
Yeah, I think that's probably fairly likely. And
And he guessed wrong.
He
and
guessed
it's a
wrong.
messy situation. But he's just not that far from lethal of his own even now.
well, it's just lethal next turn, right? With
A million Shudderwocks.
yeah, it would have to be a Shudderwock clear on this turn from Jengo, which means he has to Spellstone it or attack and Hellfire or whatever other miserable play he needs to go for. Yeah, he just has to, or the game's over and he knows it. But it's just not setting up lethal. And this was a good spot from Mitsuhide, even though it didn't work out perfectly because he kind of roped himself out, didn't give himself enough time to account for the animations and the actual Shudderwock itself
But
to play.
he's roped out because he's looked so into it. Like all we could see was not that play.
Yeah.
Oh my
And
goodness.
now Life
Yeah.
Drinker first. This is guaranteed at least 1 damage off
Jengo
lethal, but
agrees.
even then Jengo realizes it's just not happening, throws it down, and Mitsuhide, we get to see another 3-0 sweep here at round 5, this time not with the even Paladin, with the good old Shudderwock Shine.